Are There Werewolves in the Bible, Part 2. If you have not seen Part 1 already, make sure you go back and check it out first for context. If you recall in Part 1, I mentioned that I believe that I've found at least 3. I believe I've actually found an additional one, right? A total of 4 examples of what I believe to be werewolves or were-like creatures in the Bible. And in Part 1, we discussed the first example, right? Nebuchadnezzar II, which is the most clearest example that I've found, right? Of a werewolf or were-like creature. He is transformed into a man-beast for 7 years by God. Now, the next few examples, they're a little more subtle, but you just got to know what to look for. So for this part, we'll be discussing Nimrod. Now, if you look up Nimrod's name on behindthenames.com, you'll see that it mentions that his name is of unknown origin, but it's believed that his name means rebel, and it's also believed that his name means a skilled hunter. And much later on, his name began to be associated with being a fool or behaving foolishly or being a moron. So let us take a look at the description provided to us of Nimrod in Genesis chapter 10, verse 8 to 10. And Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Aruk and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So I immediately started to ask, why are we being told all of this, right? Why are we being told that he is a mighty hunter? And what does it mean when it's mentioned that he began to be a mighty one on the earth? I started to ask myself, what is the significance of him being a hunter? And I know that kings, right, have, leisure time, right? A lot of leisure time, but you're running a kingdom of which the beginning of it is 4 cities, right? And so I started to wonder, how much time does he really have to hunt? Right? And does he really need to hunt? Right? Wouldn't he have a bunch of people to hunt for him? And then I realized, oh shit, we're not just being told that this is a person that's a skilled hunter or a person that enjoys hunting. What I believe is being alluded to, right, in the verses which we just read, is that Nimrod is an apex predator. So then I thought to myself, well, perhaps maybe he isn't a werewolf or were-like creature. Perhaps maybe he's a vampire. Because after all, vampires are also apex predators. But then I started to think, well, he's a king, he's a Babylonian king, right? And so is Nebuchadnezzar II. And so then I started to speculate, well, you know what? Perhaps maybe somewhere down the line, they're related to one another. Nimrod existed before Nebuchadnezzar II. And so there's a possibility that Nimrod is an ancestor to Nebuchadnezzar II. So then I started to look it up. Is there a connection between Nebuchadnezzar II and Nimrod? All right, I Googled this shit, and lo and behold, I started to find Reddit debates and conversations of people speculating and asserting that that they believe that Nebuchadnezzar II is Nimrod reincarnated. Now, I have a very rudimentary level understanding of Judaism, but as far as I understand of it, the concept of reincarnation doesn't exist in Judaism. And so, obviously these are people speculating, but it is a really interesting theory. And it kind of makes sense, right, for me, because I practice magic. So I know that in ancient times, kings would be divinely elected, right? They'd be elected by the spirits first. And in order to become a king, to be seen or deemed to be fit or worthy to rule, you would have to undergo initiation. And so it's likely that Nebuchadnezzar II underwent initiation, and by undergoing initiation, opened up his temple, his channels, to be able to receive the spirits of his ancestors. And there's a possibility that one of those ancestral spirits was possibly Nimrod. And so when I thought about all this, it made sense to me that the type of apex predator that Nimrod had to have been is most likely some form of a werewolf or were-like creature. I've run out of time for this one. Stay tuned for part 3. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. Y'all be easy.